G'day there, guys. Why does my milkshake keep bringing all the boys to the yard, and why do they keep saying it's better than yours? It's your main man, Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now, if you love today's content, as always, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbecue, and enjoy today's bloody good content. Thank you. Posted by user xMessiahTar2020. Titled, Am I the a-hole for being upset my nephews broke every toilet in my house? So, my husband's brother, my brother-in-law, and his two kids, 13 male and 8 male, were staying with us for Christmas. They've had a rough year because his wife died in March, and the kids are a handful because of it, but I've been trying to be gracious. Yesterday was my last straw, and I need a gut check for if I overreacted. I got home from work yesterday and discovered the ground floor toilet is cracked and leaking water. It's a mess, and after shutting off the water, I ran upstairs to get extra towels and discover the upstairs toilet is cracked and leaking too. At this point, I'm pissed. I go to the basement, and yup, the basement toilet is even worse. I ran into the kids on my way up with extra towels and asked what the F they did to the toilets. The oldest said, maybe it was the boiling water bandits. And I said that makes no sense, and we get into an argument. Brother-in-law came along to ask what was wrong. He was taking a nap, and the kids start saying the boiling water bandits did it. As we're arguing, it comes out the kids were trying to do a prank because of Home Alone. They dumped boiling water all in the toilets and tried to blame it on the burglars who go around breaking toilets. At this point, I'm saying that's ridiculous, and they're old enough to know the difference between a stupid movie and real life. Brother-in-law gets upset at this because the kids have imprinted on Home Alone because it's about a mother and her kid being reunited at Christmas. At this point, both kids start crying about missing their mum. I told them they need to leave because I need to fix my house. Brother-in-law says, "You're throwing us out?" And I explained there's no functioning toilets in the house, and if anything, they threw me out of my own house because I'm going to have to go stay in a hotel. Husband is not speaking with me because the kids' feelings are upset. He's staying with brother-in-law, and I'm at a hotel alone while trying to find a plumber who can fix all of this. Am I the a-hole? I'm sorry, but just because the kid reunites with the mother at the end of the movie doesn't mean that Home Alone is about that. That's one element of it. That's such a shit excuse. Home Alone is about the kid being home alone and fending off the bloody burglars. That is not an excuse for their behavior. And then them crying crocodile tears afterwards about, oh, mum, please don't get us in trouble for destroying your toilets. No, I don't buy that either. I would be extra pissed if I was OP in this situation, and then the husband defending them because he wants to play sides here and not the side of his wife is even more phenomenal to me. Screw the kids, screw the brother-in-law, and screw the husband for their stupid actions in this one. They're in the wrong and you're not. Not the a-hole OP. And in the comments, Alexia Frog says, not the a-hole. Make sure you inform your insurance company who vandalized your home so they can be pursued for costs. Wrong. Your brother-in-law does need to pay for it, but give him the opportunity to do it. Do not bring it to the attention of an insurance company that will send him threatening letters and possibly sue him. Following this advice will just throw gasoline on a fire. Your brother-in-law is currently adrift without a paddle. His kids are even worse off. So don't be angry with them. Try to be understanding. Yes, he should pay for the toilets. Given the opportunity, he will hopefully offer as much himself shortly. Also, he needs to talk with his kids, but try to be patient. I cannot imagine what they're going through right now. No a-holes here, just some kids in unimaginable pain. And I agree with this next comment in reply to that. No way. Being a victim does not give you the right to victimize others, ever. That's a piss-poor excuse, especially for the older boy at 13, no doubt the ringleader. They did this 3 times. I could understand a poorly made choice the first time, but after that toilet broke, they chose to keep doing it. To cause someone else distress, they need therapy and consequences. Pain and grief isn't an excuse to be a criminal. They vandalized her home. It's tragic what happened to them, truly, but enabling their rage and pain won't help them long term, especially if they escalate. And brother-in-law is part of the problem, making excuses for them. What they did really sucks, but calling a 9 and 13-year-old acting out during their first Christmas without their mum criminals is way over the top. They did a crime. They intentionally broke not 1, but 3 toilets, rendering the house unlivable. Not to mention the potential water damage done. 13 is old enough to realize a prank went too far and to stop after 1. This was deliberate and criminal. Being young and sad doesn't change the act itself. They literally wanted to be bandits from the movie who were criminals. What do they expect? And OP replies, I don't think it's over the top, because it was vandalism. The extent of my Christmas mercy is so far not calling the cops, but I haven't ruled that out yet. And Dazzle Love says, not the a-hole. 13 is more than old enough to understand that that is horrible behavior. Also, why did they not stop after the first toilet broke? And OP replies, I think they genuinely thought I would believe that it was the boiling water bandits who broke the toilets. And our last comment by iDrow1 says, not the a-hole. They don't get to turn into human wrecking balls because their mum died. The father is overcompensating by giving them no structure or discipline, which is doing them no favors. Did your husband expect you to be happy that your house has no working toilets? Where did he expect everyone to go? Spackle buckets? And OP replies, our neighbors are out of town, and we're feeding their cat. Husband and brother-in-law said we could use their toilets. I said that's out of the question. Make sure your husband, his brother, and nephews don't have the key to your neighbor's house so that they don't damage your neighbor's toilet and house as well. Yeah, this entire situation is a mess, and it doesn't seem like the husband is wanting to clean it up. They're kind of just like, alright, well, you just go leave them, and we're not going to fix this problem. We're just going to let the house get water damaged, and rah rah rah. Do you guys think that we needed more sympathy for the kids in this situation? Because to me, I still believe they were crying crocodile tears, but if you have a different opinion down in the comments, I would love to hear it. Let me know what you think. Our next post is by user Slapster1, titled, Am I the a-hole for giving away my grandparents' gift intended for my fiancé? Every year, my grandparents give $300 to their single grandchildren and $500 to their married grandchildren, along with a note that says, to share with your spouse. When opening up our gifts this year, I noticed my cousin, who had recently married his gay boyfriend, only received $300, while my fiancé and I received $500. I handed $200s from my envelope to my cousin in front of everyone, which caused quite the scene. My family is very religious and refuse to accept gay marriage as legitimate. They refuse to acknowledge his husband as a member of our family and tell him he's going to hell unless he changes his lifestyle. I defended my decision by saying, we're not married yet, and they are. I think there's been a mistake. Conversations quickly devolved, resulting in both my cousin and I leaving shortly after. My family insists it was not my money to give, and my actions disrespected both my grandparents and my fiancé. My fiancé feels my family was welcoming her, and I rejected her in front of everyone. Am I the a-hole? No. Oh no, you fought back against homophobia in your family, and you did it in an overt way that makes it obvious to everyone. God, you really disrespected your homophobic grandparents there. I feel like your fiancé should be sharing the same feelings as you here. Who wants to be, accepted by this homophobic family who clearly disrespects their own grandchild and their legitimate marriage? That's more so a fiancé problem than a you problem. I think they need to go work on that one. Everyone needs to sit down, hash this out, and decide if you're going to cut this family off or not. Because, wow, you being disrespectful in this situation? God, what a bloody trip of a universe they must be living in. It is simply unacceptable in this day and age. There is no context you can give me that would change that belief. Not the a-hole OP. And in the comments, Bright Copper Kettle says, not the a-hole. Your silence and acceptance of the money would have been complicit in your grandparents' homophobia. Good for you. Your fiancé needs to see the bigger picture. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised the fiancé is upset. If my boyfriend had done what OP did, I would just be extremely proud. It's not about the fiancé at all. And OP replies, she feels it was our gift, but I made a decision like it was my gift. She also doesn't like to make waves and would have preferred to thank my grandparents while handling the situation with my cousin in private. Well then, your fiancé is a coward in the face of blatant homophobia, and if that's what you want to marry, feel free. Seriously, the fiancé feels slighted by OP once? That cousin has genuinely been slighted, rejected, and insulted who knows how many times, just for loving who they love. These things are not equal. I'm generally not the type to jump to things like maybe don't marry this person because of this one incident, but if the fiancé's take on this situation is seriously, but what about me? Then I'd be considering having a come-to-Jesus meeting with myself about who my fiancé really is as a person, and whether I want to marry this person. And God forbid his fiancé has a gay child who has to deal with the same homophobic family, and a mother who doesn't want to make waves. I'm proud of OP. Public displays of support is the only support that matters. And Overly Exhausted says, you all need to chill on the fiancé. And I say this as someone in a committed gay relationship where my partner and I have been rejected from his family. We don't know their financial situation, and it was the fiancé's money too. It was intended for both of them, and it is not the fiancé's responsibility or duty to sacrifice to make things right. What OP did is very admirable, but should have consulted with her first, and he should apologize for giving a decent sum of their money away without consulting her first, and explain that it's just something he felt had to be done. Neither him nor his girlfriend are in the wrong. And edit, I'm also talking about this in the simplest terms. It's also subjecting the fiancé to all sorts of family and personal relationship dynamics. And Caribute says, not the a-hole. The money was a gift, so it was yours to do whatever you wanted with. You made a point to your family and stuck up for your cousin's relationship. Good for you. Maybe have a word with your fiancé to reiterate that it wasn't a message for her. Arxis says, not the a-hole. You framed it perfectly for making it fit into their gifting rules. They're just mad that you called out their bigotry. Keep up the good work. Our next post is by user RS3770967, titled, Am I the a-hole for calling the cops after my half-brother took my car while I was having dinner with family? So I, 23 female, have always been civil with my 19 male half-brother. We were close as kids, but he started to have an attitude at 13, and pretty much stopped being nice, and started messing with my things and making fun of me, and doing pranks to annoy me, / my privacy was gone with him coming into my room and taking my things. Whenever I complained, my stepmom would normalize his behavior and make excuses. My dad never really grounded him, and thought that talking to him will get him to behave better. I'm currently living in college. I live in a rented apartment and have a car to help me get to the university or other places. The car isn't expensive or fancy at all. I saved up for it 2 years ago. I decided to have Christmas dinner with my family. It's the perfect opportunity to be with family since I haven't seen my dad in a while. I arrived at my dad's house, and I left my purse and my keys on the kitchen island after my stepmom told me to help with dinner. My half-brother started talking about my car in the kitchen while my stepmom was listening and asked if he could take it for a couple of hours to hang out with friends. I politely told him no. He threw a fit and brought up how I needed to relax and not worry, but my answer was still the same. While we were sitting at the dinner table, my half-brother got up, washed his hands, and I thought he went outside. I got busy talking to my dad, and after I got up to wash my hands, I noticed my car keys weren't there. I went outside to ask him, and neither he nor my car were there, and I lost it. I started calling his phone, but he hung up on me several times. I was furious. I told my dad I'd call the police if he didn't come back with the car. My stepmom jumped to defend him and said that I was being unreasonable to call the police. I called him one last time, then I called the police. My stepmom freaked out when my half-brother got picked up by the police. She told me to go explain the situation to the authorities, otherwise he'd spend the night in jail. But I refused, especially since I still hadn't gotten my car back. Stepmom yelled that I ruined dinner and that it was no big deal and he was going to return it after borrowing it from me, but he didn't really borrow it, and she heard me say no. I don't know what she told the police, but I didn't give permission to use the car. My stepmom's side of family are mad at me for doing this to my brother and hinted that I don't consider him family. My dad's side of family sided with me, saying he deserved it. My dad said I overreacted and I shouldn't have called the police when he disappeared for 4 hours. Edit, he did not borrow it, but my stepmom said I let him borrow it, which is not true. And edit, just to clarify, I talked to the police about what happened, and I learned later that my stepmom said that her son was allowed to borrow it and that it was a misunderstanding. I wasn't going to let her continue to lie, but my dad told me to back off and let it go. This really upset me. My half-brother wasn't even berated the way that I was by the family. Just gonna guess that this is America, and that's just such a cool thing to be going off and hanging out with your mates while everything's going on in the world right now. Especially on top of that, stealing the car while you didn't have permission. Screw this family for enabling the kid, and screw him for doing that in the first place. OP should have jumped the gun on the stepmom in this situation and got a foot in the door with the police and said absolutely do not believe anything the family says if it's saying that this was a misunderstanding and that, I've got it wrong here. I wouldn't trust this family as far as I could throw them. I don't think there is any angle where OP is the a-hole here. Calling the cops was not an escalation by any means. It was the right and measured way to go about this. They got carjacked. Who knows what the hell could happen to the car and the property inside the car. Good on you, OP, not the a-hole for calling the police. And in the comments, Sumerian says, not the a-hole. He borrowed your car, and you borrowed his free time for the night. Fair trade. And OP replies, exactly. I'm pretty much certain that he did not borrow it. For her to lie and say that I let him borrow it and only called the cops because he wasn't picking up the phone is unacceptable. She badmouthed me to her entire family, and they all berated me based on the story that she told. See, I'm the type of person who, if I ever posted a question here, knows I would be the a-hole, and I'm okay with that. So take anything I would say with a grain of salt. I would be vindictive and post a meme somewhere that the family will see it that basically followed the theme of what the rest of the world calls stealing, my family calls borrowing. Make it pretty clear what actually happened. DF Taylor says, geez, not the a-hole at all. How can anyone consider it an overreaction? He literally stole your car after you told him you didn't want him to use it. Why didn't your parent or step-parent offer to let him use their car? This should be a moment to show him about responsibility and accountability, not to blame you for standing your ground. Your dad is really letting you down. Simply ask how he would feel in a similar situation. And OP replies, my stepmom thought I ruined the night and overreacted because he just borrowed the car from me, even though I told him no right in front of her. My dad is indeed letting me down by how he reacted in this situation. All I wanted was to have a peaceful dinner with my family, but my half-brother was being stubborn. And they reply, sounds like a painful situation, but for what it's worth, you were definitely not the a-hole in this situation. And Catch365 says, not the a-hole. He broke the law and got his karma. What would have happened if he got pulled over? What would have happened if he was speeding and caused a crash? He now has a criminal record that he earned himself. If anything, it's his parents' fault for not raising him to respect you and your boundaries. There is no talking to him, so he behaves better in that situation. Stand your ground on this, OP, and if it's such an issue for your father, then make it such an issue for you. Good luck. And our last post is by user Casual Friday, titled, "Am I the a-hole for being mad that my friend lied about what was in his egg roll? I don't eat meat and haven't for 5 or 6 years. It's not for religious reasons, but it's still something I feel extremely strongly about. I don't make exceptions for it, ever, regardless of how drunk I get or how hungry I am, etc. At the same time, I do not judge anyone who does choose to eat meat around me, nor do I dictate what type of restaurant and bar my friends want to go to when we're out together. Vegetarian options are super widely available, so it's always a non-issue. That being said, I respect other people's choices for what they want to eat, and I expect the same in return. I was out drinking with my close friends, and one of them, we'll call him Ryan, offered me a leftover egg roll from his meal. I asked him if there was any meat in it, and he said no. I took a bite of it, and again clarified with him, asking if he was sure. Ryan is well aware that I don't eat meat. Again, he told me no. Immediately after I finish eating the egg roll, Ryan gets this sick smirk on his face and tells me the egg roll had pork in it, like he thought it was funny. I asked him why the F would he lie about something like that, knowing that I'm a vegetarian, and he told me to chill out. We proceeded to get into a huge argument, where he refused to apologize and kept insisting it wasn't a big deal. He was laughing about it and said I was overreacting about the whole thing. I told Ryan and our mutual friends that I don't want to be his friend anymore. I haven't spoken to him in over a month. Our mutual friends think I'm overreacting and that we should just move on, but Ryan still hasn't even really apologized and instead keeps downplaying what he did. I have never made my dietary choices anyone else's business, I'm not annoyed about it, I don't judge my friends for what they choose to eat. At the bare effing minimum, I would appreciate it if they don't trick me into eating pork, knowing damn well I'm a vegetarian. I could easily move on if it was a simple mistake, as mistakes happen. It's just the fact he did it seemingly so maliciously, and it really makes me have no interest in mending the friendship. I think what I'm so upset about is the blatant disrespect for what my clear boundaries are. Do you guys think I'm the a-hole for staying pissed about this? And I'm gonna go with no. You're allowed to be pissed off about deliberately being tricked, and the intentional malice in this situation from them is absolutely a reason to continue to be pissed off at them. It can be hard when you think your anger is misplaced, or when people try to convince you that this is not something you should genuinely be upset about and you're the problem for being angry, but this is not one of those situations. They're just being dickheads, they're gaslighting you saying that you're the problem here, when in fact it is them that are being the problem. Keep up the good fight, keep being angry, and get justice for yourself, not the a-hole. And OP puts, update. Wow, thank you for all your comments. Many of you have been able to word my frustration much better than I have been able to. Also, here are some clarifications for questions I keep getting. Why are your friends not pressuring Ryan to apologize? Well, they originally were. Ryan is just a stubborn, difficult dude in general, and has been doubling down for the past month that he did nothing wrong. So I think they see the only way to get the group getting past this is me forgiving rather than Ryan apologizing. We only have 1 semester of college left, and they want us to make up before we go back to school for spring semester. At this point, the only way that would happen is me moving on without an apology. I'm a pretty forgiving person, and before reading this thread, I really was doubting myself and thinking maybe I was being dramatic over this. But you guys are right, and what he did was screwed up. Has Ryan apologized? This is what his justification, more or less, for the last month has been. He keeps coming back to the fact that I'm not vegetarian for religious reasons. He thinks that makes my food restrictions less valid. He also thinks that because I did not end up getting sick immediately afterward, which was a big part of our original argument in the restaurant, it makes the joke more harmless. We've been good friends for years and joke around with each other all the time. How is he supposed to know where the line is drawn? I'm more upset on principle, which is what he can't see. All he keeps coming back to is that I'm mad about an egg roll, which I feel like is a gross oversimplification of what actually happened. Now, down in the comments, No Garden Fairy says, I'm a huge meat eater, but this has nothing to do with carnivores versus vegetarians or eating preferences in general. He ignored your bodily autonomy. He is the asshole. If he doesn't apologize sincerely, I would cut him out of my life, not the a-hole. And OP replies, this is exactly what I've been trying to verbalize to him. This is exactly right. What if he had a serious allergy and ate something that he swore didn't have the allergen in it? That could have been deadly. This is no different. Tricking people into eating something isn't funny, full stop. I'm also vegetarian, and like you, really don't care what other people eat. This isn't about meat, it's about respect. He has shown that he doesn't have much of that for you. This guy is absolutely not worth keeping as a friend. No decent person finds this funny. OP, you are massively not the a-hole, and have my sympathy for dealing with idiots who decide to take a decision that doesn't impact them in any way whatsoever as a personal insult. Not the a-hole. He needs to apologize. He thinks he's the big I am, whatever that means, for making a vegetarian eat meat. He's actually a rude asshole who doesn't show respect to his supposed friends. That said, you might need to let it go and let this friendship fizzle out, as he doesn't seem keen to recognize the problems in his behavior. OP already clearly said she doesn't want to be his friend. Don't let it passively fizzle out. This guy needs to be told that he has lost a friendship because he is disrespectful and rude. I suggested fizzling out because honestly, he doesn't deserve the time and energy of trying to explain it to him. If he's not listened by this point, the consequences of losing a friendship won't make an impact. But if OP wants to go for it, then sure. But it's also okay if they just want to conserve the energy and just let this ignorant asshole go. And Stairs Motherfuckingly says, not the a-hole. You explicitly asked if it had meat. He said no so you'd eat it and make fun of you after. What he did is food tampering and is a felon. And he offered it to OP. That's the thing that gets me. He could have offered it to anyone else or taken it home as leftovers, but he knew it had meat in it and specifically offered it to OP. That's so super shitty that I can't even call him enough of an a-hole. And I think that's where I'm going to leave today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it and all the stories that we've shared today. Tell me what you guys think of it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and opinions. Whatever you're up to today, I'll be responding to a few of you in the comments. Hope you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.